You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Hi everyone, I'm Jo Thorpe. I'm the principal and owner of Fisk and Nagle Real Estate in the Bega Valley. With me today is our amazing sales director, LVD Donato.
Hello everybody, nice to see you. Merry Christmas all.
We're in my home studio at the moment, a bit rough and ready, so we're just thinking we're going to have a chin wag. We're really excited to be part of the Sea Change Expo that's coming to Merimbula in January, just before the Australia Day holiday. We hope you can make it if you're thinking of making that really big step to do the sea change or tree change. So if we muck things up, laugh with us, because we'll certainly be laughing at ourselves. So Elvin, tell us about the average sea changer or tree changer. What do they look like? Who are they?
People that just want to not so be isolated, be away from the hordes. You know, they just want to be in an environment where they feel safe. Safety's obviously become a major issue out of all of this COVID stuff that we've been through.
And we've only just got our first cases. We went for nearly 2 years without a single case.
Yeah, that's right.
You wouldn't get it here.
No, and I think there's a few more cases coming. But anyway, that's another story. But you know, I think people are just looking for a simple life and good quality of life. That tends to be the main thing that they're looking for.
We're a long way away from everything though, aren't we?
Oh, it doesn't matter, Joe. We've got our own airport. You know, we're in a good position. We're in the middle, halfway through halfway through Melbourne and Sydney. Only 2 hours from Canberra. We've got the snowfields about an hour and a half away. Best snowfields in Australia, I might add.
And Albie's a trout fisherman, so guess where he goes on his days off, or when he pretends to be working.
I don't want to talk about trout fishing, don't get me going there, but yeah, the Monero's certainly got some magnificent rivers to explore. Great country, yeah.
And it's interesting, I'm probably one of the first sea changers, or in fact Merimbula is maybe a full. You know, 22 years ago my husband and I moved here from Sydney. We were big corporate execs in Sydney. Back then, you're going to have a laugh, that to get internet, it was dial-up, but I couldn't get dial-up, and I had to stick an antenna on the outside of my office to try and get anything. So what's it like now? Because obviously things have changed.
It's totally changed. People are working from home now, you know. I mean, I'm an example of that, you know, and people also realising how efficient you can be working from home. Zoom technology, face-to-face meetings online, it just makes life a lot easier. And the beauty of it all is, you know, you live in the best part of Australia.
Yeah, I actually sit in front of looking out to Merimbula Lake and the ocean and watch the whales breaches. So it's pretty good when that happens.
Yeah, no, it's pretty special.
People find it also, if they do have to turn up to the office, it's still pretty accessible.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you know, I mean, we're in Bega, obviously, which is, let's call it the hub of this area, in Carp Street there. Come in and say hello. And you know, it's in a good position in Main Street. So, you know, we're very lucky. We've got our super office, let's call it that. We were 7 offices sort of from Eden up to inland to Cooma and all the way up to Bermagui, and now we've sort of melted that all together into one big super office, and it's a pretty happy place we're in. We're very lucky. Yep.
Yeah, and in fact, not that we're giving ourselves a plug, but we'll give ourselves a plug.
We just did, so.
Even though we don't look that old, Fisk and Nagle is the oldest agency in the Bega Valley. We've been helping people buy and sell real estate and investors to manage their property since
1969.
There you go.
So how long is that? Well, 30,
older
50
than
years.
You.
50 years.
Oh no, younger than both of us. Oopsie, but close.
1 year older than me, Joe.
Shut up, what are you saying? You're not allowed to talk about a woman's age. All right, moving on, because people are actually making a big decision. It is a big leap of faith to decide to pack up everything in the city and come to the country. How did the people that you're dealing with, your clients, how are they dealing with some of the questions around that?
Look, a lot of the people that come here obviously from Sydney and Melbourne, and when they first get here, like I normally get invited back into their home to see what they've done to the property and all that sort of stuff, and I keep in touch with them, and the first 2 or 3 months they're a little bit not lost, but they're probably missing, you know, family and friends from home and what have you, and certain luxuries that they have from home. But it soon changes. People, you know, they adjust to our lifestyle and they love the area. So
yeah, I remember one of the first things that drove me insane when I moved from Sydney, in kind of a big city kind of a way, was some of the restaurants, the kitchens would close at 7:30 at night, and I couldn't believe it. Yeah. But that's changed in 20 years as well. We've got some pretty astonishing food here.
We are very lucky. And look, I have lots of friends that come up from Melbourne. It was interesting last summer. And I'm not giving the local RSL a plug, but you know, you go there, the food is magnificent. It's such a range of food. It's very affordable. In fact, the boys have made the comment that, you know, this sort of steak, you know, you'd be paying $50-$60 in Melbourne, and up here, you know, you can buy a great steak at the RSL Surf and Turf for about $40. Yeah.
And look, we've got great, you know, our oysters are to die for. Tatra Oysters has won the gold medal. Goodness knows how many times.
How many times is it now?
But our estuaries, basically from Eden through to Bermagui, you will not get a better oyster. We've got boutique breweries popping up everywhere. We've got amazing high-end restaurants like the Wharf and Wheelers, but some great cheap and cheery bars and things as well, which is something for everybody, which is great.
Absolutely, yeah.
Something else I missed, I think the theatre was a big thing that I missed, but you can zip over to Canberra for that. I went over there a couple of weeks ago to have a look at the Wharf Review. So I agree with you that initially it's like, where's the people? Why aren't I growling at people when I'm going on and off public transport or into shops? Why am I not as harried? That's because we live here.
That's right. And then you get over that initial shock, you know. And as you mentioned, like, Canberra's great. It's only 2.5 hours away. You get your retail fix, spend a couple of nights there, and then you're really screaming to come home again because you really miss this wonderful area that we live in. Yeah.
Let's talk about real estate though. Yeah. So 2021, give us a quick overview of what's happened in the Bega Valley.
Well, basically things have gone crazy as far as real estate's concerned. Prices have pretty much doubled, especially coastal prices, Merimbula, Tathra, Pambula Beach. Median prices have soared to, you know, I think it's about 30% since the beginning of 2021 till now. So,
but that's for some of the high-end stuff. I think Merimbula's gone up overall about 17%.
Yeah.
And there's definitely been some high-end records for us that have hit the 2 mil. But compared to other places, if you go up a couple of hours to Bateman's Bay, what's your gut feeling? Well, I reckon we still get more bang for our buck down here.
Oh, we definitely do, 100%. You know, you can buy a magnificent home with views on the water in Shura Beach. It's still cheap, really. Beachfront is only going for around $1.5 to $1.8 million. Whereas if you pick that home up and put it at Bateman's Bay, it'd be, you know, pointing towards 2.5-3 mil.
Well, so, in fact, I think Mollymook had a $10 million sale.
They did.
You know, I think even though for a lot of people that's a lot of money, at the same time, comparatively, if you want your slice of paradise on the beach, you're not there. What about and there's obviously a great capability for people from the cities to sell up and come down because the prices there gives them the cash to do that. But what about other people that are moving who aren't quite in that high end, because not all of the Bega Valley is high end.
No, there's still that affordability too. I mean, we're just talking about beachfront property. Not everybody can afford or even wants beachfront property. They're happy to have a residential lot, you know, let's call it 5-minute walk to the beach with a bit of a view. It's probably under $1 million, to be honest. In Shura Beach, under $1 million. In Merimbula, maybe a little bit over, but still definitely affordable. If you're prepared to go inland, say 20 kilometres to places like Bega, I still believe Bega's got a lot of growth there. Homes are still affordable there. You can get a nice home around about 600,000.
Wow!
Obviously, there's no views in that. You're in Bega, and there's nothing wrong with Bega. You know, it's a great place. You know,
and I think it's really important to. One of the questions I think people might have is this is an amazing area and locality surrounded by national park, bordering on the ocean, but there's lots of different localities here as well.
Yeah.
So if we've talked about Merimbula, Pambula Beach, Tathra as being the beachside resorty type places,
Yep.
Bega's very different. Tell us about Bega.
Well, Bega, it's got a lot of little communities surrounding it. Bega's obviously the hub. There's places like Walumla, which is a little bit closer to the coast, but you can go out to Candle. There's all these little towns, wonderful little places on lovely rivers and in beautiful farming land. And again, that is quite affordable if you're looking at that sort of, let's call it under the $1 million mark price point. Yeah.
And I suppose people are looking for tree changes as well as
Yes,
a
absolutely.
sea change.
Yeah.
And so Bega is, as you say, the hub. It's where the Shire is. It's where Bega cheese is, and we all love Bega cheese. That's how people know where we come from. But it's also the main retail shopping precinct.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's actually only a 15-minute drive from the beach.
It is, yeah. It's about 15 minutes.
Yeah, so it's still very easy to get to and from the beach, but it's much more rolling hills, beautiful farmland. Places like Candelo, really renowned for its markets and its folk music. They've got some pretty amazing musicians that have come out of Candelo.
Yeah. There's a bit of a local following. Actually, there's musicians at Candelo, but I've even talking about musicians at the RSL in Merimbula. I'm referring back to the RSL again. There's some really good bands that play there. That's starting. I remember when I first moved up here, talking about 30 years ago. We never had anything like that. But now we're seeing that even musicians, all aspects of life, people are coming here. So it's really good to see.
And so I think for people who are looking for, some people don't like the hustle and bustle of the beach, even though there's not much of a hustle and bustle here. I got stuck in a traffic jam yesterday.
Where was that?
Just on the bridge, like it is. It's like, I'll have to remember to go the other way around, or start walking. But for people who do want a quiet rural life change as well, is there much interest in that lifestyle block where you can have a let's call it river cottage type scenario?
There's a lot of interest in that. Yeah, really popular. We've had properties that we price guide, and we've got well above the price guide for that sort of thing. I'm talking $100,000 over price guide, which is. Like, I've been selling real estate here for 20 odd years, and I've never seen that happen before at an auction or anywhere. It didn't matter what market we were in. So, definitely a demand for that sort of thing. Yeah.
And I suppose how easy is it going to be for somebody to buy a house here?
Look, it's not.
Because we're making it sound a bit scary because of the price rises.
Look, we're still a lifestyle market, We're not bombarded as such, but the market's good. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like it is in Melbourne where you go to an auction, you're bidding against 20 other bidders. It's not like that at all. Property comes on the market here, just to give you an idea roughly. You normally get about off the database. You normally get about 10 interested parties, and we get 2 or 3 offers in. It's not as cutthroat as Melbourne.
So from that point of view, if you're sick of the competition,
in
fact, we've been looking to buy a place in Canberra for our son to go to uni next year, and the competition, and that's Canberra, not even I suppose Sydney or Melbourne, but the competition was, I don't want to play, I can't be bothered. Yep. Whereas that's good to know that it's even calmer from that point of view in terms of not having to continually up and up and up and up your price on a Dutch auction.
No. And people find, it's funny you say that, because people find that really, I see that comment a lot that, it's great buying real estate here. Everything's good about this area. It's just so easy. Well, it's not easy. I shouldn't make it sound that easy, but it's a lot. It's not as cutthroat as the cities. Let's just say that. So. Yeah.
And what is the housing supply like at the moment?
If you're really specific about what you're looking for, it can be pretty tough. The supply, if you're looking in general, if you just want a home and you've got a price point, there is quite a good range of stock at the moment. However, saying that, it can tend to be swept up fairly quickly. sort of talking in circles here, but it's there is a bit of stock there, yeah, definitely at the moment.
And so the moral of the story is give us a call so you can come on our database because we're
definitely got to
to
be
actually,
on the database, 100%. That's a good call, Joe.
Yeah. Sometimes we're not even advertising properties and they're sold.
That's right.
So we'll keep you in the loop, and by all means give us a call and tell us what you're looking for. Moving on to, I suppose, that concept of housing supply. There's often a thought in a really tight, crazy market that everything gets sold and there's nobody else to sell properties anymore because everybody who's wanted to sell has sold. But in your 20 years in real estate, is that real? I mean, is there ever nothing on the market?
I think you have to sort of poke around a bit to find stock at the moment. But it's interesting, and this is the first time I've been doing this over all the years, but just cold calling people on the database and speaking to them, and sometimes you just give them a bit of a prod. They're not ready to go, but then they start to think about things and they realise, look, when an agent's ringing you up and looking for your business, that means the market's good. I can tell you that, and that normally means you'll get a good price for your property. But obviously you need a plan B. So once you sell, you need to buy something or move on to another area or what have you.
But in reality, people's lives don't stop just because the market goes a bit crazy. No. People still have babies that grow up and need their own rooms.
They need bigger homes. Other people want to scale down. There's always movement in the market.
Yeah, always. And so everybody continues to live their lives rather than if they're upsizing, downsizing, divorcing, moving back to the kids as they age, all the rest of it. So there's always stock around, so don't be turned off by that. Predictions for 2022. Drum roll.
I know.
No pressure.
You have to be a brave person to predict what's going to happen. Look, you would assume that the banks, and I've seen some signs they're starting to make it a little bit more difficult to, well, not difficult, but just being a little bit more precautious about giving out money. They have to sort of bring things to a rein, I guess, eventually. I don't think interest rates are going to go up by the sounds of it, not 2022, maybe towards the end of 2022. So I think the market will still be strong, definitely. Yeah, I think it'll be another good year. Yep.
I mean, are we going to see another, 15-20% increase next year, do you think?
I doubt it, Joe, to be honest. I don't think we'll see that at all. I think things will start to flatten out. I remember back in 2009, we had a spike. Not as sort of significant as the one we're experiencing now, but 2009 till about 2016, 17 was pretty flat. In fact, the market didn't move at all. But now, obviously, in the last 12 months, 18 months, things have gone up again.
And look, I think that's something about the Bega Valley different to cities as well. What you see in Sydney and Melbourne is this, there's a peak and then it goes down, and there's a peak and it's a roller coaster.
That's right,
Whereas the Bega Valley...
A lot more conservative, absolutely.
Generally just rises, 7% on average over the years.
Yeah,
I think in our 2 decades we've seen... This is the second time we've seen a market like that. Yeah. So that's gone up more than what it has as an average, but it's really consistent in its capital growth, and so, but we don't ever see a plummeting of the value of the houses, or we haven't in 20 plus years. So I think the concept of it flattening is not so much that it's going to drop; it's just the heat's going to come out of the prices.
Yep, it won't drop. History will tell you, history will suggest that it won't drop. It normally just flattens out. So it's a conservative market. Generally if you buy a property for $600,000-$700,000, say, you'd rent it out for, let's call it $500-$600 a week. It's that sort of not a massive return for your money, not a risky return. If you're looking at long-term investment, it's certainly a good way to go.
Yeah, and I think that's a good segue into investors. Yeah. Our rents we do have a rental shortage like everywhere else in Australia. We're not unique. We have seen that owner-occupiers have been buying up rental stock, and that's actually reduced, but investors are coming back into the market now.
Absolutely. Investors are seeing that they're getting more bang for their buck, so to speak. They're getting good returns, rental returns for properties, and they're happy just to land bank them and sit on.
An example, I know one investor who bought for a 4-bedroom townhouse Chira Beach for $575, and that's renting for about $580 a week.
Yeah.
So and that's to professional people. So there's also lower value stock there as well. So the rental return on that is, call it what, 4%, 5%?
5%.
Yeah. Well,
it's not bad, is it? What do you get in the banks?
Yeah, you're not getting that.
0.5%.
Yeah, that's right. So from that point of view, it's a really good place to invest as well. In terms of some of the big prices that we've been seeing, has the finance followed with that?
In terms of finance, you've stumped me on that question, Joe. So you mean regarding?
Well, it's all right. That was. So we're finding. I think you've mentioned to me before that sometimes the price people are offering isn't actually coming up in a bank valuation when they need to borrow.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Look, that's only. Look, it's. The valuers are definitely scratching their heads at the moment with what the agents are getting offers accepted at. And look, I've noticed of late there has been a couple that have been pretty tight. In fact, a couple have fallen over because they haven't quite got there. And that's the first sign that the market's going to flatten out. But that's a good question you asked.
Yeah.
Sorry I didn't ask.
That's all right. Maybe I was just trying to be a little bit too clever for you. Okay, so just in terms of signs that you're seeing that there might be a flattening or at least a reduction in the crazy increases is, the banks are tightening up, the valuers aren't necessarily being able to come up to the same prices as being offered. Any other areas that you think is leading to you think that it's going to flatten a bit?
Look, they're the first signs. I don't think really there's anything else dramatically, like normally rental properties you find that the rental market there's a bit of a supply there. That quite hasn't happened yet. I'm surprised. It'll be interesting to see in Merimbula or coastal Sapphire Coast winter what happens. Last winter certainly, it's interesting what the girls say obviously in property management. They say that winter's coming, we're going to get more rental property sitting there. Didn't happen last winter. I guess the big question is it going to happen this winter? And if it does, that's going to be something else, I think.
And quite often that happens because of our geographic location being as close to the snowy mountains as we are. We do tend to have people moving from here to the snow to work, and then in summer coming back. There's a lot of crossover between the two, and there hasn't been a ski season really for the last 2 years, so that's possibly impacting. For people who can't find their perfect home, what about land and building?
Land is at a real scarcity at the moment. There's a couple of areas that are just inland, just off the coast, that we're trying to get through council as we speak.
In terms of subdivisions?
In terms of subdivisions, I'm talking not residential blocks, but more so 5-acre blocks, that sort of thing's happening, and bigger. There's definitely a lot of development happening unit-wise in Merimbula. There's a few big unit complexes going up, which is good. And again, that might be something else that might just slow the market a little bit. It's all about supply. Although having said that, I know a lot of those units that they're not even scratching the dirt yet, and they're sold already. So I'm interested to see what happens there. So there's a couple of signs there,
and I think council, because of the housing supply situation, council has made some changes to the local environment plan to allow higher density living, to allow people to build granny flats on smaller size blocks, multi-unit development. So hopefully that will actually get even, not even big time developers, but small. I think you probably would have seen it over the last couple of decades that there are quite a lot of small time developers. They might be mum and dad developers. They might be a tradie, and they'll do a duplex somewhere.
Duplex or triplex. There's a bit of that happening. We actually listed one the other day. I think it was your land we sold to them.
Was it?
Yeah, 4 units going on that block in Wallaby Way, Joe.
There you go. Well, good to see it's happening. So it is coming along. Sometimes it's slower. The trick, I think, is to let us know that you're looking. If you're looking to sell and you're watching this as well, we've obviously got the buyers there wanting to do that.
Absolutely, 100%.
So I can't think of any other questions to ask you.
Well, you want me to ask you a question?
I don't know.
I know,
See if you can go.
I don't know, you did such a great job. You do this really well, Joel. You must have a history. Can I ask you that question?
Oh, how did I
Bit of a background there.
How did I become a real estate agent? I started life as a journalist.
That's
Gosh,
right, yeah.
That's what happens. Yeah. What did you start life as?
I was in the media industry, so
yeah,
I was.
Maybe that's why we're... But actually, I think that it's an interesting point for sea changers to realise, though, that just whatever you do now, and with this, all the talk of the great resignation that's coming after COVID, being sick of your job, that in fact it's very easy to reinvent yourself as well.
We've all learned that from this experience, haven't we?
Yeah, and you get to do something that you really love compared to what you might be doing elsewhere. So you have to be prepared to take a bit of a risk.
You do,
yeah,
and to change. You know, I mean, you said to me, I remember when we sat down having coffees together, discussing where this was all heading. You said, "Oh, why don't you work from home?" That was 12 months ago, and I I scoffed at, I laughed at you. But I now really enjoy it. It's something that I thought I'd never do, but provided the wife and kids are there, I love working at home.
Just saying, everybody else in the office thinks that's a good idea as well.
Yeah, that's right.
We hope we're going to meet you at the Sea Change Expo. We'll be there as exhibitors, but we'll also be running a property panel with a whole range, with a builder and conveyancer, because the rules are different in New South Wales compared to some of the other states. We hope we'll see you there in person. If not, you'll be able to hook into the online version of it, I believe. So we'll hopefully talk to you soon. Thanks for spending time with us.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Elby.
No worries.
Stay there.